I am Delia, 32, a software engineer at a respected tech company in Seattle. High school was hard for me as I was bullied about my weight. Amanda was the ringleader, the popular girl who made my life miserable. What she didn't expect was our paths crossing again at the same workplace years later. Imagine my shock seeing my former tormentor as the new hire. But this time, things ended differently. Karma finally caught up with her. Before I begin my story, where are you watching from? Hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever witnessed justice served cold. My journey at Westlake High School started with so much hope and excitement. At 14, I was eager to begin this new chapter of my life. I'd always been on the heavier side, but I never let that define me. My passion was computer science, and I dreamed of creating software that would change the world someday. On my first day, I wore my favorite blue sweater and jeans, hoping to make a good impression. The hallways bustled with students, everyone trying to find their place in the high school hierarchy. That was when I first saw Amanda Thompson. She had perfect blonde hair that cascaded down her shoulders, crystal blue eyes, and the kind of confidence that demanded attention. As head cheerleader and daughter of a wealthy local businessman, she already ruled the social scene. Our paths crossed in advanced English class. The teacher assigned group projects, and I saw an opportunity to make friends. When groups were forming, I gathered my courage and approached Amanda and her friends. "Would it be okay if I joined your group?" I asked, clutching my textbook tightly against my chest. Amanda looked me up and down, her eyes lingering on my midsection. Then she smiled, but not kindly. "Sorry, we already have enough people. Maybe try that group." She pointed to a corner where no one was sitting. It was a rejection, but I tried not to take it personally. Maybe they really did have enough people. But a week later came the cafeteria incident that set the tone for the next 4 years. I was carrying my lunch tray looking for a place to sit when I spotted an empty seat at a table where Amanda and her friends were sitting. I approached hesitantly. "Is anyone sitting here?" I asked. Amanda looked at me with wide eyes. "Are you serious? You're way too fat to fit at our table. The bench might break." Her friends erupted in laughter. My cheeks burned hot with humiliation as everyone in the vicinity turned to stare. I retreated, finding a corner table where I ate alone, fighting back tears. From that day forward, Amanda made it her mission to remind me of my place in the social hierarchy. She coined the nickname Deli Delia because, according to her, I must spend all my time at the deli counter. The name spread through the school like wildfire. But school wasn't all bad. I found allies in unexpected places. Mr. Harrison, the computer science teacher, recognized my talent immediately. His classroom became my sanctuary during lunch periods where I could escape the cafeteria drama and work on coding projects instead. "You have a real gift for this, Delia," he told me after I completed a particularly challenging assignment. "Don't let anything or anyone distract you from developing it." I also befriended Zach, a quiet boy with thick glasses who shared my love for programming. We bonded over coding challenges and sci-fi movies, forming a friendship based on mutual respect rather than social status. "Amanda and those people peak in high school," Zach would say whenever he caught me looking upset after another encounter with her. "People like us were building skills for the real world." I tried to believe him, but the daily barrage of comments and snickers was wearing me down. By the end of freshman year, I had learned to navigate the hallways with my eyes downcast, trying to become invisible. But Amanda always seemed to find me like a predator with a particular taste for my suffering. What I didn't know then was that my freshman year struggles were just the beginning. The worst was yet to come, and Amanda was just warming up her cruelty. Sophomore year brought a new level of sophistication to Amanda's bullying tactics. She no longer relied solely on direct insults. She became strategic, finding ways to humiliate me that were far more damaging to my reputation and self-esteem. The Valentine's Day incident was the first sign that things were escalating beyond simple name-calling. I opened my locker that morning to find a pink envelope tucked between my books. My heart raced as I read the note inside, supposedly from Jason Miller, the basketball team captain. He was writing that he had noticed me in the hallways and wanted to get to know me better. He suggested I meet him after school near the gym. I spent the entire day in a daze. Jason Miller had noticed me. It seemed too good to be true, but the note seemed genuine. I even went home during lunch to bake chocolate chip cookies, his supposed favorite according to the note. At 3:30, I waited by the gym doors, cookies in hand, heart pounding. Jason appeared surrounded by his teammates and, to my horror, Amanda and her cheerleader friends. The confusion on Jason's face quickly turned to embarrassment when Amanda spoke up. "See, Jason, I told you she was stalking you. She even brought cookies. How creepy is that?" Amanda's voice echoed in the hallway. "I got your note," I said weakly, holding up the pink paper. Jason shook his head. "I never wrote that." The laughter was deafening as I realized I had been set up. Someone snapped photos of me standing there, cookies in hand, face burning with humiliation. By that evening, those photos were all over social media with captions like, "Creepy fat girl stalks captain," and "Desperate Delia's failed Valentine." Amanda didn't stop there. She created a dedicated page on social media called Delia the Creep, where she posted unflattering photos of me and encouraged others to share stories of my supposed stalker behavior. According to Amanda, I was obsessed with popular boys and followed them around like a pathetic puppy. The rumors spread quickly. Even students who had previously been neutral began avoiding me, not wanting to be associated with the creepy stalker girl. I went from being just unpopular to being actively ostracized. My parents noticed my increasing distress and scheduled a meeting with the principal. I sat in his office staring at my hands while my mother explained the situation. "We need to know what the school plans to do about this bullying," she said firmly. The principal sighed. "Unless we have concrete evidence of who created these online posts, there's little we can do. Have you considered speaking with the parents directly?" But Amanda's father was a major donor to the school's athletic program. The meeting with the administration resulted in nothing more than a general assembly about online responsibility that everyone ignored. The school counselor wasn't much help either. "The best way to deal with bullies is to ignore them," she advised during one of our sessions. "They're looking for a reaction. If you don't give them one, they'll eventually stop." But Amanda never stopped. If anything, my attempts to ignore her only made her more determined to get a reaction. My anxiety worsened. I began having panic attacks before school. My grades started slipping in every class except computer science, where I continued to excel under Mr. Harrison's guidance. Coding became my escape, the only place where I felt competent and in control. The science fair that spring should have been my moment to shine. I had created an algorithm that could predict traffic patterns based on weather conditions, a project that had impressed even Mr. Harrison. I spent weeks perfecting it, hoping that success in this arena might change how others saw me. The night before the fair, I stayed late at school to make final adjustments to my display. When I returned the next morning, I discovered that someone had spilled coffee all over my presentation materials and deleted crucial files from the laptop I was using to demonstrate the program. Amanda walked by as I frantically tried to recover my work. "Oops," she said with a smirk. "Accidents happen." Despite the sabotage, I managed to piece together enough of my project to present. The judges were impressed with what remained of my work, and I placed second overall. Mr. Harrison knew what had happened but couldn't prove Amanda's involvement. "This is just one event in a long life of achievements ahead of you," he told me afterward. "Don't let her take away your passion." I nodded, but inside I was crumbling. The constant stress was taking its toll. I began stress eating to cope with my emotions, adding more weight to my already heavy frame and giving Amanda even more ammunition for her taunts. By the end of sophomore year, I felt like I was drowning with no life preserver in sight. Junior year would push me even closer to the breaking point. Junior year arrived with a weight of dread I couldn't shake. Over the summer, stress eating had become my primary coping mechanism, and I had gained nearly 50 pounds. My clothes no longer fit properly, and I lived in oversized hoodies and sweatpants, trying to hide my expanding body from the world. Amanda noticed immediately. "Wow, Delia must have spent the entire summer at the buffet," she announced loudly during our first day back. Someone should tell her the all-you-can-eat wasn't a challenge. I had long since stopped responding to her comments, but each one still cut deeply. I withdrew further into myself, declining invitations to study groups or club meetings, afraid of facing more ridicule. My world shrank to the path between home classes and the computer lab, where I spent most of my free time. Despite my isolation when graduation party invitations started circulating in the spring, I received one from Tyler Chen, a quiet boy from my calculus class whose parents were throwing a huge celebration. I was surprised but touched by the inclusion. Maybe, just maybe, things were changing. My hope was short-lived. A week before the party, Tyler approached me after class looking uncomfortable. "Hey, about the party," he began, avoiding eye contact. "My parents had to cut down the guest list, so—" But later that day, I overheard the truth while hiding in a bathroom stall. Amanda was at the sinks with her friends. "Tyler actually invited the cow?" She laughed. "Don't worry, I took care of it. I told him if she came, none of us would. Who wants someone that disgusting at their party? She'd probably eat all the food anyway." Her friends giggled in agreement as I sat frozen, another piece of my already fragile self-esteem shattering. That night, I received a friend request on social media from someone named Mike Jensen, supposedly a new student who would be transferring to our school. His profile showed a cute, slightly nerdy boy who shared my interest in computer science. We began messaging, and for the first time in ages, I felt a connection with someone who seemed to understand me. Over the next 3 weeks, Mike and I exchanged messages daily. He complimented my intelligence, asked thoughtful questions about my coding projects, and even said he found my pictures cute. I began opening up, sharing my feelings about school and my dreams for college. I even confided some of my experiences with Amanda, relieved to finally have someone who listened. "I can't wait to meet you in person," he wrote. "You sound amazing." The day Mike was supposed to transfer, I dressed carefully, even applying a little makeup. I waited by the front office as new students arrived, but Mike never appeared. Confused, I checked my phone and found a new post on the school's social page. It was screenshots of all my private conversations with Mike, along with a post from Amanda. "Breaking news, desperate Delia falls for fake profile. Did you really think someone would be interested in you? Thanks for the entertainment and all your pathetic secrets." The hallway spun around me as I realized the truth. There was no Mike. It had been Amanda all along, catfishing me to gather ammunition for more humiliation. The most private thoughts I had shared, my vulnerabilities, my fragile hopes for connection, all exposed for the school to mock. I couldn't face anyone after that. I went home and refused to return to school for a week, claiming illness. My parents, seeing my deteriorating mental state, didn't push. I spent days in bed, curtains drawn, contemplating if I could transfer schools or even be homeschooled for my senior year. Dark thoughts crossed my mind about more permanent escapes from the pain. It was Mr. Harrison who reached out, coming to our house when I missed his advanced programming class for the 5th day in a row. "Delia, I don't know exactly what's happening," he said, sitting on the edge of our living room couch. "But I know you're going through something terrible. I also know giving up now would be a tragedy, not just for you, but for all the people your talent could help someday." He told me about a special computer science mentorship program at the local community college designed for promising high school students. He had nominated me and I had been accepted. "This could be your ticket out," he said. "3 afternoons a week, you'd leave school early to work with college professors and industry professionals. It's a chance to build your resume for college applications and spend less time here." For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. The program would get me off campus during prime bullying hours and connect me with people who might value what I had to offer. It was a lifeline, and I grabbed it with both hands. I returned to school with a singular focus: survival. I had a plan now. I just needed to endure one more year, keeping my head down and my mind focused on the future that was slowly taking shape beyond the confining walls of high school and Amanda's reign of terror. Senior year began with a new strategy: invisibility. I had spent the summer participating in an intensive coding boot camp, giving me a head start on the community college mentorship program. My schedule was arranged so that I attended required classes in the morning and left campus by noon 3 days a week for the mentorship program. The other 2 days, I sequestered myself in the library or Mr. Harrison's classroom during lunch and free periods. My goal was simple: minimize my exposure to Amanda and her cronies while building my escape route through academic achievement. I started working on college applications in September, earlier than most of my classmates. With Mr. Harrison's guidance, I crafted essays that highlighted my programming accomplishments and the adversity I had overcome. The mentorship program introduced me to Jennifer Alvarez, a graduate student in computer science who became my direct mentor. At 23, she was closer to my age than the professors, making it easier to relate to her. Jennifer had a quiet confidence that I admired immediately. "The tech industry needs diverse voices and perspectives," she told me during our first meeting, "including women who don't fit conventional molds." Jennifer was the first person who made me feel that my appearance might not be a liability in achieving my dreams. She herself was stylish but not conventionally beautiful, and no one in the tech program seemed to care. They valued her brilliant mind and creative approaches to problem solving. Under her guidance, I developed an app that helped students organize study schedules based on their learning patterns. The project won first place in a regional technology competition for students, adding a significant achievement to my college applications. By December, acceptance letters began arriving. I had applied to 15 schools, focusing on those with strong computer science programs. The moment that changed everything came when I opened an email from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, offering me not just admission, but a full scholarship based on both merit and financial need. I stared at the screen in disbelief, reading the email 3 times to make sure I understood correctly. MIT wanted me. They were willing to pay for my education. It was validation I had never expected and desperately needed. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to cry from happiness rather than pain. I called Mr. Harrison immediately, and his enthusiastic response confirmed that this wasn't a dream. "I knew you could do it, Delia," he said, voice thick with pride. "This is just the beginning for you." News of my scholarship spread through the school. Most people offered polite congratulations, but Amanda couldn't resist one last attempt to diminish my achievement. "They probably have a diversity quota for fat girls," she remarked loudly as I passed her group in the hallway. "It's the only explanation." 6 months earlier, a comment like that would have devastated me. But with my future secured, her words bounced off me. I kept walking, head held high, realizing her power over me was finally breaking. Graduation approached, and Amanda planned one final humiliation. She convinced the yearbook committee to place my photo near hers in the layout, then instructed her friends to collect yearbooks on distribution day and write cruel comments around my picture before passing the books along. Fortunately, Zach worked on the yearbook staff and warned me of the plan. Instead of getting my yearbook on the designated day, I waited until the following week and picked it up directly from the faculty advisor, bypassing Amanda's scheme entirely. When I walked across the stage to receive my diploma, I heard Amanda and her friends snickering, but their laughter was drowned out by my parents' cheers and Mr. Harrison's enthusiastic applause. For the first time, I felt sorry for Amanda. High school was her peak while my life was just beginning. That fall, I headed to MIT with a sense of freedom I hadn't experienced in years. College was transformative. I found friends in the computer science department who shared my interests and valued me for my intelligence and creativity. My roommate Priya was a mechanical engineering major with a wicked sense of humor who became my first genuine female friend. "High school is Lord of the Flies with homework," she told me when I finally shared some of my experiences. "College is where actual humans gather." With the psychological weight of daily bullying lifted, my physical health improved as well. I joined Priya for morning jogs, initially struggling to keep up, but gradually building stamina. The dining hall offered healthier options than I'd been choosing during my stress-eating days, and over the course of 2 years, I lost most of the weight I had gained during my darkest periods. But more important than the physical changes was my growing confidence. I excelled in my classes, secured competitive internships each summer, and built a network of mentors and peers who saw my potential. By junior year, I was tutoring freshmen in programming languages and leading a student research project in artificial intelligence. I graduated with honors and multiple job offers. I chose Tech Fusion, a growing company in Seattle, known for its innovative approaches and healthy work culture. For 6 years, I built my career there, earning promotions and establishing a reputation as a problem solver and effective team leader. At 31, I had finally reached a place where I felt comfortable in both my professional identity and my own skin. The trauma of high school had faded to a distant memory, something I rarely thought about anymore. Amanda Thompson was a name from the past, a character in an unpleasant story I had long since moved beyond. Or so I thought until the day her name appeared on the company-wide email announcing new hires. It was a Tuesday morning in March when I saw the email. I was sipping my coffee, scrolling through messages before my team's daily stand-up meeting. The subject line read, "Welcome new team members." A routine announcement I usually skimmed. But there it was, fourth on the list. Amanda Thompson joining marketing technology as junior developer. My coffee cup froze halfway to my mouth. It couldn't be the same Amanda. Thompson was a common last name. There must be dozens of Amandas in the tech industry. But as I clicked on the attached headshot, familiar blue eyes stared back at me. Older, with more sophisticated makeup and a professional hairstyle, but unmistakably the same person who had tormented me throughout high school. I excused myself from my desk and hurried to the bathroom, locking myself in a stall as panic constricted my chest. My heart raced and sweat beaded on my forehead as memories I had buried years ago came flooding back. The cafeteria humiliation, the Valentine's Day setup, the fake online profile. Each cruelty played through my mind in vivid detail. "Get it together, Delia," I whispered to myself, practicing the breathing techniques my therapist had taught me years ago. "You're not that vulnerable girl anymore. You're a team lead at a respected company. You have power here." After splashing cold water on my face, I returned to my desk, determined to maintain my composure. I had worked too hard to let Amanda's presence unravel me now. For the next week, I managed to avoid any direct contact. Tech Fusion occupied 3 floors of a downtown Seattle building, and our departments were on different levels. I began taking the stairs instead of the elevator, bringing lunch from home to avoid the cafeteria and scheduling meetings in my team's area whenever possible. But inevitably, our paths crossed. I was leaving a meeting with the CTO when the elevator doors opened, and there she was alone inside. For a brief moment, I considered waiting for the next one, but professional pride pushed me forward. I stepped in, nodding politely without making eye contact. "Which floor?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "17, please," she replied, studying me with a slight furrow in her brow. I pressed the button, standing as far from her as the elevator allowed. The silence stretched uncomfortably until she spoke again. "I'm sorry, but you look really familiar. Have we met before?" My stomach tightened. Did she really not recognize me? Had I been so insignificant that the person she had systematically tormented for years didn't even remember my face? "Westlake High School," I said simply, finally meeting her eyes. "I'm Delia Morris." The recognition dawned slowly, her eyes widening as she connected my professional appearance with the overweight, insecure teenager she had known. "Oh my God, Delia. Wow, you look different. Really good. I never expected to run into anyone from high school here." Her tone was artificially bright, a poor mask for her obvious discomfort. The elevator seemed to move in slow motion. "Life is full of surprises," I replied neutrally as the doors finally opened on her floor. "Welcome to Tech Fusion." She hesitated before exiting. "We should grab coffee sometime. Catch up on old times." I nodded noncommittally, relieved when the doors closed between us. In the following weeks, I observed Amanda from a distance. She had changed physically, though not in the ways high school Amanda would have approved. She had gained weight, her face fuller than in her cheerleading days. The effortless popularity that had been her armor was gone, replaced by a strained attempt to fit into the tech culture. I noticed her struggling with basic coding concepts during cross-team meetings. She laughed too loudly at executives' jokes and dressed more formally than was typical for our relaxed workplace. She was trying too hard, like someone who knew they were out of their element. My detached observation ended abruptly when John, my director, called me into his office 1 month after Amanda's arrival. "We need to reassign the Horizon project," he explained. "Marketing wants more input on the user interface, so we're creating a joint team. I'd like you to lead it." My heart sank as I scanned the proposed team list. There, under Marketing Technology Resources, was Amanda Thompson. "Is there a problem?" John asked, noticing my expression. I considered telling him about our history but quickly dismissed the idea. Bringing personal conflicts into professional decisions would reflect poorly on me, not Amanda. No problem, I assured him. I'll set up the kickoff meeting for Monday. That weekend, I called my therapist for an emergency session. Dr. Michaels had helped me work through my high school trauma years ago, and I needed her perspective now. This is an opportunity for closure, she suggested after I explained the situation. Not by confronting her about the past, but by demonstrating to yourself how much you've grown beyond it. Your success is not defined by her recognition of it. I went into Monday's meeting with a carefully constructed professional facade. I introduced myself as the team lead, outlined the project goals, and assigned initial tasks based on team members' strengths. I gave Amanda responsibilities that matched her listed skills without setting her up to fail. Throughout the meeting, I caught her watching me with a mixture of surprise and calculation. The Amanda I remembered had always needed to establish dominance in any social situation. I could almost see her trying to reconcile the confident team leader before her with the insecure target she had once known. As the team filed out after the meeting, Amanda lingered behind. "You've done really well for yourself," she said, her tone suggesting this was unexpected. "Team lead already. I'm impressed." "Thank you," I replied simply. "I've been with the company for 6 years now." 6 years? Wow. She laughed lightly. "I bounced around a bit after college, tried marketing, then decided I needed technical skills to advance. That's why I'm starting over as a junior dev at 32. Not exactly where I pictured myself." There was something vulnerable in her admission that caught me off guard. For a brief moment, I saw her as just another professional woman trying to find her path, not the teenage tormentor who had once held so much power over me. "The learning curve can be steep, but you'll catch on," I heard myself saying. "The documentation for the project is in the shared folder. Let me know if you have questions." She smiled, seemingly relieved by my professional courtesy. "Thanks, Delia. I appreciate that." As she left, I felt a strange mix of emotions. There was residual anxiety from being in her presence, but also a new sense of confidence. In this environment, I was the expert. I was respected and valued. The power dynamic had completely reversed, and we both knew it. What I didn't realize then was that this reversal would trigger the same patterns of behavior that had defined our high school relationship. Amanda had always needed to be on top of the social hierarchy. Having me as her superior was a situation she couldn't accept for long. The professional facade between us was about to crack, revealing that some people never truly change. The first cracks in Amanda's professional demeanor appeared during a team lunch 3 weeks into the Horizon project. We had reached a significant milestone, and I had organized a celebration at a nearby restaurant. The team was in high spirits, conversation flowing easily as we discussed both work and personal interests. I was explaining our next phase objectives when Amanda interrupted with a seemingly casual comment. "Delia, I'm amazed at how dedicated you are to work. Do you ever take time off to date? Have a social life?" The question carried an edge beneath its friendly veneer. Before I could respond, Jason from our UX team jumped in. "Are you kidding? Delia organized the company hiking club. She has a better social life than most of us." Amanda's smile tightened. "Oh, hiking, that's great. I noticed you've lost a lot of weight since high school. Trying to work off those extra pounds must keep you busy." An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. My cheeks flushed, but I maintained my composure. "Actually, I just enjoy the outdoors. Now, as I was saying about the next milestone," I steered the conversation back to work, but the damage was done. Amanda had publicly attempted to reframe me through the lens of my former insecurities. It was subtle enough that I couldn't call her out without seeming oversensitive, yet pointed enough that several team members shot me sympathetic glances. Over the following weeks, these small digs became more frequent. In meetings, she would make whispered comments about my outfit choices to colleagues sitting nearby. During video calls, she would sometimes mime eating when I was speaking, thinking she was off camera, only to look embarrassed when others noticed. I maintained my professional approach, focusing on the project and ignoring her behavior. This seemed to frustrate her further, escalating her attempts to undermine me. One afternoon, I overheard her speaking to Ryan from the marketing department in the break room. They didn't notice me approaching around the corner. It's weird working under Delia, Amanda was saying. In high school, she was this total loner. Probably spent all her time coding because she had no friends. Still kind of a tech creep, if you ask me. I bet she goes home to her cats every night and doesn't even have a social life. Ryan sounded uncomfortable. That doesn't match what I know about Delia at all. She's pretty well liked here. I cleared my throat as I entered, pretending I hadn't heard. Amanda's face registered momentary panic before she recovered with a bright smile. Oh, hey, Delia. We were just grabbing coffee. Want some? No, thank you, I replied, keeping my voice neutral. Ryan, do you have those market research findings ready? I'd like to incorporate them into tomorrow's presentation. The incident bothered me more than I wanted to admit. After years of therapy and building a new life, Amanda's words still had the power to sting. That night, I called my closest friend from college, Priya. She's trying to reestablish the high school dynamic, Priya said after I explained what had been happening. She needs you to be the insecure victim because that's the only relationship she knows how to have with you. Don't give her that power. I'm trying not to, I sighed. But sometimes those old insecurities still rise up. Then use your support system, Priya insisted. You have friends and colleagues who know your worth. Lean on that reality, not the distorted image she's trying to create. The next challenge came when Amanda began excluding me from team social events she organized. She would casually mention happy hour plans in front of others, but conveniently forget to include me in the group text with details. When confronted, she would apologize profusely for the oversight. I didn't particularly want to socialize with Amanda, but her actions were creating factions within my previously cohesive team. Some newer employees who didn't know me well began gravitating toward her social circle, while those who had worked with me longer remained loyal. The true breaking point came during the final phase of the Horizon project. We were preparing for the client presentation, a crucial meeting that would determine whether our largest client renewed their contract. As team lead, I had assigned sections of the presentation to each team member based on their areas of expertise. The day before the presentation, I discovered that Amanda had approached our director claiming that my section of the project overlapped with marketing's domain and offering to present that portion herself. I thought it would make sense for marketing to handle the user engagement metrics, she explained when I confronted her privately. It's really our specialty. That wasn't your decision to make, I said firmly. The presentation structure was agreed upon by the entire team. If you had concerns, you should have brought them to me directly. She shrugged, her expression innocent. I was just trying to help. No need to be so territorial. I let the matter drop after clarifying with the director that I would be presenting my section as planned. I spent that evening refining my slides and practicing my delivery, determined that the project's success would speak for itself. The next morning, the team gathered in our largest conference room. The clients would be arriving in 30 minutes, and we were doing a final run-through. I noticed immediately that Amanda seemed tense, checking her phone frequently and avoiding eye contact with me. When it was her turn to practice her section, she fumbled through the first few slides, clearly unprepared. I offered a suggestion on how to present a complex data point more clearly. Something in Amanda snapped. She slammed her laptop closed. I don't need your help, she hissed. Just because you're some kind of coding prodigy doesn't mean you know everything. Some of us had actual lives in high school instead of hiding behind computers. The room went silent. Everyone stared at her outburst, then at me, waiting for my response. Amanda, I said calmly, let's take a 5-minute break. Everyone else, please review your notes. I led her to a small meeting room nearby and closed the door. This needs to stop, I said quietly. Whatever issues we had in high school have no place here. This presentation is too important to the company for personal conflicts to interfere. Instead of backing down, Amanda's face contorted with years of pent-up emotions I couldn't fully understand. It's so perfect, isn't it, Delia? The victim becomes Delia, the success story. Everyone respects you here, thinks you're so brilliant. They have no idea what a pathetic fat nobody you were. We were teenagers, I replied, struggling to maintain my composure. That was 14 years ago. We're professionals now. You think you're better than me now because you lost some weight and got promoted. You'll always be that desperate, creepy girl following the popular crowd around, begging to be included." Her voice had risen, and I was acutely aware that others might hear. I took a deep breath. "I need you to pull yourself together. The clients will be here any minute. We can discuss this later with HR if necessary." "HR?" She laughed bitterly. "Are you threatening me now? I'm trying to salvage this presentation. Please, for everyone's sake, let's focus on the work." She followed me back to the conference room, still fuming but temporarily contained. The run-through resumed with Amanda robotically going through her slides. When the clients arrived, everything initially went according to plan. Each team member presented their section professionally. Then came Amanda's turn. She started well enough, but when she struggled to answer a technical question, I gently intervened with clarification. Actually, I explained, the system architecture allows for seamless integration with the client's existing database using the API we developed specifically for this purpose. The client nodded, satisfied with the answer, but something in Amanda had reached a breaking point. In front of our most important clients, the executive team and the entire project group, she turned on me. "Of course, Delia has to show off how smart she is," she said, her voice dripping with venom. "Always trying to prove she belongs here when everyone knows she's just a fat creep who got lucky with some code." Gasps echoed around the room. The clients exchanged uncomfortable glances. Our CTO's face hardened into a mask of controlled rage. "Amanda," he said sharply, "step outside now." As she was escorted out, I somehow managed to continue the presentation addressing the clients directly. "I apologize for that interruption. To answer your question more thoroughly." I don't remember much of what I said after that. Muscle memory and years of preparation carried me through as I completed both my section and what would have been Amanda's. When the presentation ended, the client still agreed to renew the contract, impressed by how the situation had been handled. Within an hour, HR had called me to a private meeting. 2 other team members had already reported Amanda's behavior, sharing previous incidents I hadn't even been aware of. The HR director asked for my account, which I gave factually, focusing on the professional impact rather than personal history. "Has there been any previous conflict between you and Amanda?" the HR director asked. I considered mentioning our high school history, but decided against it. This wasn't about high school. It was about unprofessional behavior in the workplace. "We knew each other in high school," I said simply. "We weren't friends, but there was no conflict that should have affected our professional relationship here." Amanda, it seemed, took a different approach. In her meeting with HR, she apparently claimed I had been targeting her due to old jealousies, suggesting I was using my position to settle high school scores. This backfired spectacularly when multiple witnesses contradicted her version of events. 3 days later, I was called into the CTO's office. He informed me that after a thorough investigation, Amanda had been terminated for creating a hostile work environment. "Your handling of the situation was exemplary," he told me. "Maintaining professionalism under that kind of personal attack demonstrates exactly the leadership qualities we value." That afternoon, I watched from my office window as Amanda was escorted from the building carrying a box of personal items. Her expression was a complex mixture of anger, embarrassment, and something that might have been regret. As the door closed behind her, I felt no satisfaction, only a profound weariness, and the strange sense that a chapter of my life had finally truly ended. In the weeks following Amanda's departure, I found myself processing a complex mix of emotions. The initial relief gave way to deeper reflection about our shared history and how it had shaped both of us in unexpectedly lasting ways. My team rallied around me with support I hadn't anticipated. Those who witnessed Amanda's outburst approached me individually or sent thoughtful messages expressing their respect for how I'd handled the situation. Kevin from the front-end development team stopped by my desk the day after everything happened. "I just wanted to say," he began awkwardly, "that what she said wasn't true. You're the best lead I've worked with, and nobody thinks those things about you." His genuine concern touched me deeply. "Thank you, Kevin. That means a lot." Other colleagues shared similar sentiments, each interaction helping to neutralize the lingering sting of Amanda's words. What struck me most was how differently my professional community responded to bullying compared to high school. Where teenage bystanders had either joined in or looked away, my adult colleagues actively rejected such behavior. In my weekly session with Dr. Michaels, I worked through the residual feelings the incident had stirred up. "What surprised you most about how everything unfolded?" she asked. I considered the question carefully. That I didn't fall apart. In high school, her words would have devastated me for weeks. This time, they still hurt, but they didn't define me or make me question my worth. "That's significant progress," Dr. Michaels noted. "How do you feel about Amanda now?" "Sad, mostly," I admitted. "She's still trying to be the high school queen bee, but those tactics don't work in the real world. She lost a good job because she couldn't evolve beyond that mindset." We discussed the possibility that Amanda might reach out to apologize and how I might respond. Dr. Michaels helped me see that forgiveness might benefit my healing process, regardless of whether Amanda ever sought it. I decided against sharing the full high school history with my colleagues. A few had directly asked about Amanda's reference to our past, but I kept my responses vague, saying only that we had known each other as teenagers and hadn't been friends. This wasn't about protecting Amanda's reputation, but about maintaining my own privacy and professional boundaries. The incident gradually faded from workplace conversation as new projects and challenges took precedence. I threw myself into mentoring junior developers, finding particular satisfaction in supporting young women entering the tech field. Several had confided their own experiences with imposter syndrome or workplace bias, and I found that sharing aspects of my journey without the specific Amanda details often helped them persist through difficult times. 3 months after the incident, I encountered Amanda unexpectedly at a coffee shop near my apartment. I had just ordered my usual latte when I turned and saw her sitting alone at a corner table typing on her laptop. My first instinct was to leave, but something made me hesitate. After collecting my drink, I approached her table. "Hello, Amanda." She looked up, surprise registering on her face before her expression settled into something more guarded. "Delia, I didn't expect to see you here." "I live nearby," I explained. "Mind if I sit for a minute?" She gestured to the empty chair across from her, closing her laptop. We sat in awkward silence for a moment before she spoke. "I'm sorry about what happened at Tech Fusion," she said finally. "I was way out of line." The apology caught me off guard with its directness. "Yes, you were. I've been seeing a therapist," she continued, fidgeting with her coffee cup, "trying to understand why I behaved that way, with you specifically." I waited, giving her space to continue if she chose to. "In high school, I was terrible to you," she acknowledged. "When I saw you again so successful and respected, something in me couldn't handle it. My life hasn't exactly gone according to plan, and seeing you thriving just triggered something ugly in me." "Our high school dynamic was never healthy," I said carefully. "But we're not teenagers anymore. What happened at Tech Fusion wasn't about high school. It was about professional conduct." She nodded, looking down. "I know. I've been doing some serious reflection about patterns in my life. How I treat people when I feel threatened or insecure. It's not an excuse, just an explanation I'm working through." Something about her vulnerability seemed genuine, different from the calculated manipulations I remembered. People can change, I reminded myself, even if Amanda's change had come through difficult consequences. "I hope the therapy helps," I said sincerely. "And I hope you find a workplace where you can start fresh." "I got a job at a startup across town," she shared. "Lower position, but maybe that's what I need right now. A chance to rebuild from the ground up." We talked for a few more minutes, nothing deep or particularly revealing, just neutral conversation between two adults with a complicated history. As I prepared to leave, Amanda looked at me directly. "I am truly sorry, Delia, for everything. High school, Tech Fusion, all of it." I nodded, accepting her apology without needing to minimize the harm done. "Thank you for saying that. I wish you well, Amanda." Walking home, I felt lighter somehow. The encounter hadn't erased our history, but it had provided a more fitting conclusion than watching her escorted from the building. Her apology wasn't necessary for my healing, but it did offer a kind of symmetry, bookending a chapter of my life that had remained partially open. In the months that followed, I doubled down on my volunteer work with an anti-bullying program in local high schools. Speaking to students about resilience and the impermanence of high school hierarchies became a meaningful way to transform my own painful experiences into something constructive. Seeing the recognition in the eyes of kids going through similar struggles reminded me why breaking these cycles mattered. The friendships that sustained me through these experiences deepened further. Priya visited from Boston, and we spent a weekend hiking in the mountains, our conversations ranging from career ambitions to relationships to the nature of forgiveness. Mr. Harrison, now retired, but still mentoring young programmers, joined me for dinner when he visited Seattle for a technology education conference. Zach and I maintained our friendship through regular video game sessions despite living on opposite coasts. One evening, sitting on my balcony overlooking the Seattle skyline, I reflected on how far I had come from that hurt, isolated teenager. The journey hadn't been linear. There had been setbacks and unexpected challenges like Amanda's reappearance, but each experience, even the painful ones, had contributed to building the person I had become. Success and self-acceptance had indeed been the best revenge, though revenge no longer felt like the right word. What I had achieved wasn't about Amanda or proving anything to my high school tormentors. It was about creating a life that reflected my values and allowed me to contribute meaningfully to the world around me. I still had insecurities and bad days, like any human, but I had also developed the tools and support system to navigate them without being defined by them. That perhaps was the most important lesson. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about learning how to rise again. If you've ever faced bullying or had to confront someone who once hurt you, I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. How did you find closure or healing? Remember to subscribe for more real-life experiences and lessons learned the hard way. Have you ever witnessed karma catching up with someone who deserved it? Hit that like button and share this video if my story resonated with you. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the best response to cruelty is living well and setting firm boundaries.